All
Hey,
right.
good morning, Julie. How are
Good
you?
morning, Liz. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. So we're here today to talk about youth and family ministry. So what's showing up about this generation gap in our Unity children's and youth ministry in your world in North Atlanta?
Yeah, so I'm the associate minister of Unity North Atlanta and have been with the church in youth ministry for a long time. And now overseeing the whole program, I've got some perspective, and there really are some challenges. We get these children and teens, especially in our centers, and they have these really profound experiences and connection with their peers. And especially in our YOU program, the program is set up to be youth led. And so they've created these deep, deep connections. And then I think the gap comes when they're done, right? So, they graduate and maybe they move away or maybe they stay local. Um, but even if they stay local, I think trying to get them to feel that engagement, just going upstairs to the adult service isn't working for many reasons. And I know in class we looked at, the music is probably not necessarily resonating, or the population upstairs. So what can we do to help facilitate that? One of the challenges is that they cannot be a junior sponsor, understandably, right? They can't just switch roles and come back because at that point they're over 18 working with minors. So we really just sort of push them out of the nest and expect them to be engaged. So, and
You
I
know, if
know,
I may interject here,
sure.
I had a similar experience when I was leading youth and family ministry in a church in the Midwest. I had one young man. He finished high school. He went into community college locally. He was very responsible. He still sought that peer
Mhm.
contact, and we kind of went around in this circle about like, can he still vibe with the teens? Not really. Is there a group in this region for his age range? Not really. And he ended up leading well, he took a position in tech, and I even worked because of pandemic, we couldn't really have the kids there together. I worked with him some in tech and then kind of took over that. We morphed positions, but he was longing for that same contact. And then when I went to our regional YOU meetings, their languaging was beautiful.
Mhm.
The way that they had a rapport with each other, the way that they built that to lead one
Yep.
another. Okay, so the number one thing that you're seeing as an obstacle is that what about that gap right there when they go to college? They're lost to us, or
Right.
we
And
to
I
them.
think the NGU movement was the answer for
What's that
that.
acronym?
Next Generation Unity. So that's
Thank you.
NGU. And so that is really the bridge, but there's been challenges with it. So, we have an NGU group, and at various times it's been more successful. And that is the group that they move into after that high school experience. But one of the challenges we found, they kept expanding the age range, right? So that they had one or two people that actually was in that 18 to 25, it wasn't enough. So in my center they were going, oh, okay, well, you could be 30, okay, well, maybe like in your mid 30, you look young, you can be in it.
Oh,
And it
wow.
really lost what it was supposed to do. And so what we have found, our NGU is growing, and it started from small groups. So within our centers, and I know we're going to be speaking about what to do out in the community, but the most successful thing we've had so far is they had their own small group, and they have continued that. And it's hybrid. Some come in from Zoom and some come into the center. We have a potluck on Wednesdays, but they retain that connection within their own age group, because you're right, the languaging is different. Their lived experience is different. And so that has helped. The other thing locally I've done in the centers, and I think you and I talked about this, you as well, is getting that intergenerational feel in services. And so I think, we can have services that are intergenerational, and I think we should. And I think we should bring in the youth to the service whenever we can, not as a token, not as a, hey, we're here, sing the peace song, but as a substantive part of the
Okay.
service.
So what we're talking about is the centrifuge of consciousness in our centers, in our movement, expanding outward. How
Yep.
we experience that in our population locally and globally, and then
Yep.
integrate that wave back into what we're experiencing within our
Yep.
center,
Yep.
right? Even
Absolutely.
like this mission centric centrifuge consciousness concept,
Hmm.
instead of like in center out of, instead of like a
Right.
dualistic third dimensional mentality. That's
Yeah.
kind of what I'm leaning into as I listen to you. How do we integrate the population together
Hmm.
and really have track in the whole journey,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is not losing this NGU group?
Right. And I think service, their connection, and then service to the community is the first step. And then I'm excited for you to talk about some of what we came up with of how to extend that out globally. Because I know when we have our big events, NGU steps up. They step up to do part of the events. They've led events. Super Happy Fun Day was an NGU event where they
Uh-huh.
brought we had a dunk tank, and I've noticed that they want to mix, especially the older generation. They want the youth, they want that connection, and so we try to infuse that. But I'm excited for you to talk a little bit about moving that energy out globally. So do you want to talk about that?
Thanks. Yeah, well, first of all, in reflecting on Gen Alpha and volunteer opportunities. So if we redesign or if we evolve our volunteer opportunities, Gen Alpha, what are they interested in?
Right.
Um, they they're concerned with our mental health. They're concerned with, well, what is it even going to look like? I mean, I'm even thinking globally, this law in California that, I don't know, the state of Virginia, for instance, is bumping up against right now, cars. And they're stepping into our population full time where we only have electric cars for sale.
Mhm.
What is it like to maintain, sustain, attend to our world so that, this rising temperature piece, Julie,
Mhm.
um, in our world, that if we rise another degree and a half, that has implications for our sustainability, for our major ecosystems on our planet, if they will survive.
Yeah.
And so this is something that Gen Alpha is passionate about. What's the young lady's name who spoke and became kind of famous a few years ago? Some of
Greta Thunberg.
Thank
I
you.
can't say her name correctly, but yeah.
There you
Yeah.
go. So they're concerned with mental health. They're concerned with the sustainability of our world. What's that going to look like in functionality for them? So, globally, I have this concept of how do we even have this opportunity to speak to agrarian societies, use the tools we have to create a global online marketplace, even have a project where we, from our centers, look to refugees from wars in the world. These kids, like the young man in the TED Talk. Hey guys, here's a model to create an online marketplace where you have this land and your family still farms or cares for its sheep. This global consciousness of awareness of, and that's back to, like, yeah, our unity principles,
Right.
enfolding this focus in spirit and the lifestyle that comes from that,
And I think we
and
talked
having
about,
these
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
and having these opportunities to create this global online marketplace and enfold layers of consciousness. And hey, what's it like for our kids to connect with some kids in different parts of the world and
Right.
have this prepared to, because they're not as much as the command and an authority, that leadership style of command, and you do, and whose
Right.
authority. It's like, who shows up to participate, to collaborate, to
Right.
build synchronistically our consciousness, right? And then for Gen Z, it's like, okay,
Well,
so
for
Gen
the Gen
Alpha
Alpha,
local.
was that what were we
Mhm.
talking about how to extend that? Because I think ultimately that global piece, but meeting with,
Volunteer for a local
yeah, and the
aging
tech piece.
population.
Well, in the tech
Yes,
piece, I think
exactly.
in our previous conversation, I thought it was interesting because they are so tech savvy, is how do we can connect them even with the people in the older people in our center. we launched an app and all of our aging population was like, what do we do with this?
Well, yeah,
That would have been
have some
really cool.
Sundays.
Yeah, to think about the teens or even the Gen Alphas, for goodness sake, could help in that. So that's another layer of connecting uh, two populations. One has a skill set, one has a skill deficit. So it starts in the microcosm.
Yeah, that's beautiful to meet needs there, right?
Yeah.
And I thought about that as well. Taking some notes here about if this goes to say like a Sunday a month or a couple Sundays, right? And we have this crossover of Gen Alpha and our older population in the congregation. If we go into the community with this concept and
Yep.
then even have some feedback, okay?
Mhm.
So have the feedback where they ask, hey, mental health, because that's so interesting for that. That's one of their areas of concern,
Right.
Gen Alpha. If they
Right.
inquire, so what's been most important for you in your mental health and arriving to this senior living facility? How have
Right.
you stayed connected in your community? Even like to really that human connection and to have some feedback about that, to have feedback in the project so we can share with our local community,
Yeah.
our movement, even in our global consciousness, to share this work that we're doing. And so that's
Can
the
I
way I
piggyback
saw
on that?
that.
Sorry, can I piggyback on that?
Yeah, what would you like to say?
So, in relation to that connection out in the community, one of the things I think that pairs well with that is the human library. So I don't know if we talked about it before, but that sort of goes along with it where younger people, and because Gen Z is really about mental health too, but younger people meeting with the older generation and asking questions. So I think the concept came out of Sweden, where you can rent a person instead of renting a book at the library, and you sit down and you talk about them, talk about the issues cross generationally, and it's been really a successful way. So as you were speaking, I thought that's a good thing to integrate when you're out in the community. It's
Beautiful.
yeah. So go ahead.
I see some publishing opportunities there, like material publishing,
Right.
creating a service project that moves,
Yep.
right? And how to do that in layers. When I was looking at Gen Z, I thought like, okay, clean up our local environment, have our aging congregants, or I say aging congregants, I mean, gosh, like grandparents,
Right. Right. Right.
even to our aging congregants, lead with Gen Z,
Mm-hmm.
have that interlinking cleanup opportunities in the environment.
Yep.
I mean, that sounds simple, but for connection and for cross generational issues that are relevant to both. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I'm hoping to do is have, it's one of my dreams is to have that service be a short service, intergenerational, and then everybody gets in their cars who is able and it resonates with and goes out in the community as a whole to volunteer. So make it part of the Sunday experience. Haven't quite vetted and worked out the people that can or don't want to, they still need that Sunday experience, but make it part, an extension of that. Maybe we feed them lunch and then everybody goes out and we meet and clean up. I think that would be something that resonates. Because the grown-ups care about the earth too, right? So I
That
think
has great energy around it.
absolutely. Yep. It's exciting.
Human services, animals, Gen Alpha as well. They're interested in coaching, they're interested in corporate social responsibility. So I just see ways in our volunteer opportunities. And yeah, I did. I jumped to that global consciousness level. But even if we were to map it right now, it's like this opportunity to share technology with our older generation, to publish some material about that, to get that kind of cooking while we're working. Oh, to we could create a course, an online, how do you create an online market? And talk
Right.
to kids in agrarian societies around the world, bring that consciousness in, teach them how to have that online marketplace and just accessibility to those tools, inclusivity. Hey, we value your lifestyle.
Right.
You, as a global citizen, tremendously valuable. Look at
Right.
how important it is for us to go back in and integrate living into nature for our
Right.
health, for our mental health, for our physical health, for the sustainability of our planet, right? And really create that platform of equality, equity,
Right. Right.
in
I
this
think that
global
helps.
consciousness.
I think it helps not just the global thing, which I think is the ultimate goal, right? But I was thinking about that TED Talk with that young gentleman, and you can speak a little bit more to it, but and I know we're probably running out of time, but we could talk hours
Yeah.
and we have, but there maybe the older population just may not know about TED Talks, may not know, and so that brings all the generations into that. And also, I'm an only child, and my mom was very intentional about giving me as much of a global perspective as she could. So I think that cross-pollination that you're talking about with the global marketplace gives that perspective of I'm not the only one in the world. A lot of families can't travel. That's a way for them to access these things going on globally, and then crossing back the unity principles going out. So I think it's really exciting.
You know, I'll ask you about this to kind of like wrap up and conclude. One thing that arises to me is the opportunity here. You have a program with multiple people in all your generations, and you guys are thriving on that level. So it even brings the opportunity for me to like, oh, how could an evolving ministry, an evolving community ministry pair with you,
Yes,
right? For
right.
you guys implement this stuff in center, take that level, brainstorm, create this online global marketplace. Your people participate.
Yeah.
We're the
That's
centrifuge to the world, right?
yeah.
And here's something I want to pick your brain about as we kind of wrap up.
Mhm.
Your in center approach and need and very real, like heartbeat, blood flow of, hey, let's get the older generations interested in what the younger are doing and knowledge about what they're doing so that we
Right.
can have a force in consciousness and yeah, this like heartbeat together. And so I'm wondering, what do you think it looks like? Is it once, could it be, hey, this is just an idea. Could it be one service a month where the kids come forward and it wraps up into what's been
Yeah.
done that month? Could it be like and they present, or it's around, hey, here's what we're doing, here's this global approach? Do you think that it's a service? How do you think that these kind of like, hey, on the first and second Sunday or the first and third Sunday, we're going to do this technology cross pollination thing and just advertising that? Is that enough? What does it look like to you in center?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because when I took the job, that was exactly what I wanted to do. And board of directors, minister on board, fourth Sunday was Youth Sunday, where it was exactly that
Oh,
substantive
wow.
content upstairs because our older generation wants to see the children. And I'm passionate about it not being a token. I mean, sometimes they come up and do the prayer for protection, but that's not what we're talking about, right? The reality of leading a YFM program, I have not been able to do it right and consistently yet. Fifth Sundays only happen a few times a year. So I'm committed to that. But
Okay.
I really want
Beautiful.
this evolving ministries thing. I love this because it's not something we talked about. It's being birthed right now. That is
Yeah.
such an important way to go brick and mortar to evolving ministries to
What
globe,
I've always talked about, right? For the
right?
last 2 or 3 semesters is cross-pollination of brick and mortar and evolving ministry. So it's not like we're in competition or one person's funds
Right.
or resources. It's like we're here to cross-pollinate because I think I'm passionate because
Yeah.
it's what I do on a daily basis about working in the global marketplace, sharing Unity tools in the corporate world. I don't always say, hey guys, this is a spiritual
Right.
religious movement that was birthed 130 years ago, but I integrate our 5 principles.
Right.
I integrate metaphysical structure of mind in the corporate clients that I work with. So, knowing the consciousness, knowing the healing that's taking place in the global marketplace within working with adults, that young man, that young African man, and just seeing, like, I think of New Zealand, I think of the Middle East and refugee camps, I think of what it is because there have been before this particular war, and not because people are necessarily uneducated and impoverished, but they're displaced.
Right.
So
Right.
to have the global consciousness, the online marketplace. So if you guys, like some of your kids kind of created that, the
Yeah.
the
Yeah. I mean, I
evolving
think,
ministry finds those opportunities to bring in the global kids, and we have the online, and we just offer it like, hey guys, here's a way to go about creating this global population and integrating our skills and consciously integrating Unity skills and principles into the way we deliver
mhm,
why and how to do this online marketplace, and the importance of respecting our agrarian communities, and that we have the tools now to be able to have an online marketplace globally in agrarian society.
yeah.
That's huge for the survival of us and our planet.
Absolutely. And as we're wrapping it up, I'm thinking it's almost like three, the pebble and the ripple
Cheers.
effect. So we're looking
Mm.
at in a center, and I loved what we talked about in class about it's not youth ministry is not about we need family so our church doesn't die. These kids have wisdom right now. And I know just my experience in my ministry, that's our older population wants that. I think sometimes the board of directors and the staff and the minister may be in that fear spot of we got to have it, but the congregation at large, they're not thinking that way. They're thinking, oh, I don't have grandchildren local. My kids moved away. Now I get to see what the youth's
I
doing.
want the life.
Yeah, so it starts in our centers. I love the idea of it then bridging the evolving ministries and then together with the technology piece going out into the world. So I think we just solved it.
And I'll wrap it up on my side with this. You know that this could be the beginning and the ending for me between us.
Yeah,
This concept of we need families, we need kids so we don't die, the wellspring of spirit will pop up. I'm talking a spring in the ground, and spirit will flow where spirit sees it to be true. We hold that consciousness
yeah,
and prepare the ground for the wellspring.
yeah,
Right. So it's like, it's interesting to have this resource of a physical center. And like, yes, how do I steward that powerful uprising of our physical centers that happened in the 90s? But then the mentality to how do I save something that's dying, to me is maybe it's necessary. I know a minister in South Florida that she did
yeah,
death doula to centers, and the
yeah,
but at the same time it's really nurturing the wellspring of what is spirit. This is, our movement is alive, our
mm,
principles, our movement, Christ consciousness in human evolution is
right.
alive. How do we steward the wellspring of that springing forward and growing and evolving?
Well, I think you and I can continue, and I would love to work with you. Let's see what we can put together. I mean, if you're interested, I mean, I'm the brick and mortar, you're the evolving ministry. I don't know how much youth plays in it, but I'd love to see what we can come up with because I have the support to do once a month. Um, it just in the first year, it's just, we haven't, I want to do it the right way. So, we haven't committed to that, but I think it's important. So yay.
Yeah, beautiful. So let's see if the seed is ready to take root and
Yeah.
sprout. Yeah, there's opportunity here.
Are you
And we
coming
have a
to the
year
convention?
together.
Yeah. And are you coming to the convention?
I'm not coming to convention this
Oh,
year.
I was going to say, because we could meet, but thankfully with technology, we can meet anyway.
Listen, how we wrap up. I was like about to whoosh, verbally, okay, let's finish and then talk about convention. No.
Well, oh yes.
But anyway, right? So yeah, to complete this conversation, I don't know about our timing, but I think we may have gone over 15
Yeah.
minutes. Thank you for hearing
Yeah.
us. And yeah, we do. Hey, we have a year together.
Right.
So if this is meant to come forward,
Yeah.
we can do
Let's do
that.
it.
We have
We,
the opportunity.
yeah, I'm
Much
excited.
love to you on the day. I'm going to end the recording. Thank you, Rev Diane. Thank you for this class and
Yeah,
this opportunity to expand together. Thank you, God.
thank
So
you.
it is.
Amen.
Amen.